Trees may be connected underground by a hidden fungal network. They may share nutrients. They may send warning signals. And the internet. Being the internet, heard that and immediately turned forests into group chats with bark, which is close enough to be interesting and wrong enough to be dangerous. The story you have probably heard goes like this. Trees talk to each other underground. Old trees feed baby trees. Forests have a secret internet made of fungus. Somewhere beneath your feet, the trees are quietly passing messages, sharing food, and possibly judging your landscaping choices. That version is beautiful. It is also a little too neat. Because the real story is stranger than that. Not because trees are secretly people, because they are not, but because forests are not just trees standing near each other. They are trees, fungi, roots, chemicals, water, carbon, insects, decay, competition, cooperation, and a shocking amount of activity happening in total silence. A forest looks still because most of the drama is underground, and the main characters down there are fungi. Specifically, mycorrhizal fungi. That word sounds like something a scientist says when they want everyone else to stop asking questions, but it is simple. Myco means fungus, rhiza means root, so mycorrhizal fungi are fungi that connect with plant roots. The fungus gets sugar from the plant. The plant gets help finding nutrients and water. Everybody signs the paperwork. Nobody reads the terms. Here is how it works. A tree makes sugar through photosynthesis. That is the process where leaves use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to make food. The tree keeps some of that sugar for itself, but it can trade some of it to fungi living around its roots. In return, the fungi send out tiny threads called hyphae. Hyphae are microscopic fungal threads that spread through soil in ways roots cannot. Roots are useful, but they are thick compared to fungal threads. Hyphae can slip into tiny spaces. They can reach nutrients that roots might miss. They can help pull in things like phosphorus and nitrogen, which plants need to grow. So the fungus becomes something like an extension of the root system. Not a magical cable, not a tree telephone, more like a tiny underground delivery service with no customer support number. And this relationship is ancient. Plants and fungi have been working together for hundreds of millions of years, long before humans showed up and started naming things after websites. So yes, there really is an underground fungal world connected to plant roots. That part is real. The question is what it means. Because once scientists found that fungi could connect to more than one plant, people started asking a much bigger question. If one fungal network can connect multiple plants, can those plants move things through it? Can a tree give carbon to another tree? Can a plant warn another plant that insects are coming? Can a forest act less like a bunch of separate trees and more like a living neighborhood? That is where the story gets interesting, and also where everyone needs to calm down a little. One famous study looked at paper birch and Douglas fir trees and used special carbon labels to track where carbon moved. Think of it like putting a tiny tracking number on carbon. The study found evidence that carbon could move between trees connected by fungal networks, not in a cartoon way. No tree leaned over and said, "Here, young man, take some of my sugar." But carbon appeared to move through underground fungal pathways between different tree species. That was a major finding, because it suggested that trees were not always as isolated as they looked. A forest might have hidden exchanges happening beneath the soil, not just competition, connection, and movement, the kind of thing that makes a person look at a tree and think, all right, maybe you have been busy. Then came the warning signals. Some experiments showed that plants connected by fungal networks could respond after a neighboring plant was attacked by insects. In one study, broad bean plants connected by a common fungal network appeared to activate defenses after another plant was attacked by aphids. Aphids are tiny insects that feed on plant sap, basically little plant vampires, but less dramatic and more numerous. The attacked plant released warning chemicals. Nearby connected plants seemed to respond before the aphids reached them. That sounds like communication, and in a way it is, but we have to be careful with that word. Because when humans hear communication, we imagine language, messages, intent, one tree texting another tree, aphids coming, look alive. That is not what scientists have shown. What they have shown is that plants can release chemical signals, and other plants can sometimes respond to those signals. Those signals may move through air. They may move through soil. In some cases, fungal networks may help carry them. That is not the same as conversation, but it is also not nothing. It is a different kind of communication, one that does not need a mouth, a brain, or a group chat called forest business. Plants do not talk like us. That may be the point. They live in a world of chemicals, light, moisture, roots, pressure, timing, and threat. They sense things, they respond to things, they change their chemistry, they defend themselves, they compete, they trade, they just do it in a language we were not built to notice. So when people call this the wood wide web, you can see why the phrase caught on. It is memorable. It is clever. It makes you feel like the forest has Wi-Fi. And that is exactly the problem. Because once a metaphor gets too good, people start treating it like proof. The wood wide web became a beautiful idea. Trees sharing food, mother trees feeding their young, forests acting like generous communities, nature as one big cooperative system. And some of that may be partly true in some places, under some conditions, with some species. That sentence is less exciting. It is also much closer to science. Because in 2023, researchers reviewed some of the biggest public claims about common mycorrhizal networks. Common mycorrhizal networks are fungal networks that may connect multiple plants. The researchers did not say the networks are fake. They did not say fungi do not matter. They said the public story had gotten ahead of the evidence. That is the important part. Carbon can move, nutrients can move, signals may move, but proving that a specific old tree intentionally helped a specific young tree through a fungal network is much harder. The forest does not hand you receipts. And the popular claim that mother trees recognize their own seedlings and feed them through fungal networks is still debated. That does not mean it is impossible. It means we should not present it like a settled fact just because it makes a beautiful sentence. That is where the internet got part of it wrong. Not by being interested, interest is good. The internet got it wrong by turning a complex underground system into a children's movie with better lighting. Old tree helps baby tree. Forest has feelings. Fungi are fiber optic cables. Nature is secretly nicer than us. That story is comforting. But forests are not only cooperative, they are also competitive. Trees compete for light, roots compete for water. Fungi are not charity workers. They are living organisms with their own interests. A mycorrhizal fungus is not standing underground with a tiny clipboard asking which tree needs emotional support. It is trying to survive. It trades nutrients for carbon because that trade benefits it. Sometimes the plant benefits, sometimes the fungus benefits more. Sometimes the relationship changes depending on conditions. Nature is not a motivational poster. It is a negotiation. And that makes it more interesting, not less. Because the real forest is not a peaceful little commune, it is a living system full of trade, pressure, cooperation, competition, and quiet conflict, all happening beneath a canopy that looks calm from the hiking trail. So the wood wide web is not exactly an internet. There are no emails, no passwords, no tree is clearing its browser history. But the metaphor points to something real. Materials can move, signals can move, relationships matter. A tree is not just a tree, it is part of a larger system. Its roots interact with fungi, those fungi interact with soil. The soil is full of bacteria, minerals, dead leaves, water, and things with too many legs. And all of it affects whether that tree grows, struggles, survives, or dies. That is the part worth keeping, not the fairy tale. The connection. Because even if the popular version is too simple, the underground world is still astonishing. You can walk across a forest floor and have no idea that beneath your shoes, roots and fungi may be trading, sensing, competing, and reshaping the life of the forest. The forest is not silent. It is just not speaking English. And maybe that is where the real lesson is. A tree does not need to be human to be remarkable. A fungus does not need to be a cable to connect things. A forest does not need to be kind to be complex. The real version is harder to explain, but it is better. Trees are connected to fungi that help them gather nutrients and water. Some plants can exchange materials through shared fungal systems. Some warning signals may move through underground networks. Some popular claims about forest-wide cooperation and intentional sharing are still debated. That is not a weaker story. That is the actual story, and the actual story has something the simple version does not. It has mystery with a spine. It lets us say, this is real. And also, we are still figuring out what it means. So the next time you walk through a forest, you do not need to imagine the trees whispering like neighbors over a fence. What is happening is already strange enough. Under your feet, there may be fungal threads, thinner than hair connecting roots, moving nutrients, carrying signals, and helping shape the life of the forest. Not a secret internet, not exactly, more like an ancient underground economy. The internet got part of it wrong, but it was right about one thing. The forest is connected, just not in the cute way, in the weird way, which is usually better. Weirdly true, weirdly sketchy.